Klaus Frieler. Klaus is also working with the Audio Branding Academy, and this year he was responsible doing research. And he knows research because he studied physics and mathematics at the University of Hamburg, and he has a PhD in systematic museology. Musicology, thank you. Musicology, I haven't used that word very often before, I have to admit. You do mathematical models of melody cognition. So you're really one of the guys who does it really analytically, very quantitatively with many tools. You're a scientific consultant, you're a programmer, and today what you will tell us is the Audio Branding Barometer 2011, what you have found out in the survey, and a little note here. The results that you see here will be published in the Audio Branding Academy Yearbook 2011-12, so there will be a publication like each time we have that, where there will be articles and amongst them will be the survey results, and part of it will be put online as well. So, Klaus, it's all up to you now to give us an insight about your survey.
Yeah, thanks, Carsten. Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, first time in New York, great. Third time on the Audio Branding Congress. This year it was my task to do the Audio Branding Barometer. So we're starting a tradition now. Last year was the first time, now it's the second time, and I think this is a tradition. And I think several of you participated here. Actually, we had sent invitation to 145 audio branding agencies. We got responses of 32 agencies. It happened to be exactly the same number like last year. And yeah, the questionnaire was open in September 2011. So this is what we're going to do. Talk a little bit about the sample, the company profiles, then about money, revenue and clients, new business projects, trends and technology. And at the very end, a new point this year, the relationship or the attitude of the audio branders towards science, for instance, musicology. So mostly audio branding agency answered, like 65%. Then a few music productions, 11%, and really one exactly advertising agency, or a few other companies. The location, it's a bit different than last year. Last year we had mostly agencies from Germany, but now the picture is quite different now. 21% from the US, 50% from Germany, and 12% from the UK, and 2 from Brazil and Australia. But a lot from other countries, 25% from 1 each, Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, France, India, Italy, and Netherlands. And some refused to answer. Here it's the distribution, so we got some nice blue spots and some really big white areas on the world. I think a lot of space for expansion, maybe in a team. And yeah, this is like last year, audio branding, it's still a small company business. We have like 72% are less than 10 people in the company. Only 60% up to 20 and only 10% over 21, really big ones. So it's really still small agency. This was just like last year. And the profile of the foundation years, it's still of course basically the same as last year. We have a few starting before 1990. We have a first wave in 91 to 95, and I don't know, a dip in the second half of the 1990s. And then in the 2000 years, it really went off. So nearly 40% of all the audio branding agencies are answering just were founded in 2006 or later. So this is really brand new. What kind of services does the company offer was the question. Most of them, 84%, offer musical composition, and the same amount is strategy consulting, a little bit less is development of concept and production and so on. It's a lot of business, but we offering music in connection with strategic consulting is the point. And this was the next question, fitting into this picture, that 85% offer strategic planning as a business. And this is exactly like last year, that most of them are independent agencies. Only 7% are part of a big network. And we asked what kind of audio branding elements the agencies delivered. Here the number is the median, because there's a huge spread, because there are really small companies and some few really big companies with completely different numbers. So the median means this is the number of elements where 50% did more and 50% of the sample did less. So the hardcore of the business is music for commercials, just. I think last year this was music on hold, if you look. Music on hold, so this now really dropped to the 10th rank. So here comes icons on the next, then brand voice, quite a lot, jingles, soundscapes, brand song, corporate song, free, music for industry film, free, audio logo, free, music on hold, 2.5, corporate anthems, 2. And the number of client projects, yeah, I think small companies, they are not able to do a lot of client projects, so the number is around 57% do less than 10 projects, but some do more than 20 projects in 2010. And what was the size of the budget? We asked what is the average share of client project according to budget size. And we have a lot of small budgets, with less than $10,000, and 5% are even bigger than $500,000. So here is widespread, with a little bit a notch in the middle. So they are really huge projects, but then mostly it's going up to quite small projects. And I summed up the total revenue. We asked for the total revenue of the companies. Also, not including audio branding, but other stuff as well. But I think because most of them are audio branding agencies, so this is quite the same. But of course, this numbers depends on the sample that we draw from the population. So this is, the absolute numbers are not really taken for granted, but it's more interesting how it's the progress. And the progress was like a raise of 30% from 2009 to 2010, which it's about the same like from 2008 to 2009, which was 12%. So we are still growing in a 10% step. And here are the differences in revenue in $10,000. So most companies had more revenue in right up to $100,000. Some were really boosting, making $600,000 more revenue from 2009 to 2010. But some are losing up to $300,000 US less revenue. But the overall picture is just, it's on the way up. We're just increasing 58% about just of the companies increased the total revenue from 2009 to 2010. Around a quarter had no change, and 50% unfortunately decreased the revenue. And we asked what is the share, what kind of services or products contribute to the revenue. And we see that music production and the consulting, information, research, support, so the strategic part, are up to about the same. Royalties, it's more the smaller part of it. So yeah, so this fits to the first picture as well. And we asked for which industries are the clients. Last year we had a completely different picture. I think media was 100%, so every company last year had something to do, had a media customer, but now media is just on the 7th or 8th rank. So I think this can be taken with a grain of salt because this heavily depends on the sample that we take, because the number of items is just in the order of magnitude than the sample size. So, but the winning is still here this year: food, beverage, and tobacco, followed up by telecommunications, retail, wholesale, banking, financial service, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, automotive, media, other, and so on. Got a second chart even. So a lot of industries. And next question was, okay, this was the numbers, but how many, what was the share to the revenue? And here, the biggest money makers are broadcasting, legal, and of course then food, beverage, and tobacco. And we asked for the daily rates of the employees, and looks like I want to be a managing director of company number 30. I don't know, this is just an ID of the company, I don't know which it is. But yeah, as managing director is the median, the big thick line is always the median of the distribution. The managing director is 2,000, creative director a little bit less, senior manager 2,200, junior manager $1,000, and assistants around $500 per day. And we asked for new audio branding projects, and how many of them were competitive pitches. And yeah, it fits to the picture of the small companies that around 76% had less than 10, or equal or less than 10 new audio branding projects. Only 23% had more, 11 to 20, and this was the max. And few of them were not competitive, like 20%, but 70% of the 70% were competitive as well. And how many new business acquisitions was our last question. This goes up to 10, so of course the revenue is going up. They should have new businesses. Some stay, 5%, so maybe 2 of the whole sample, but most of them got new business acquisitions. And we asked for the average pitch fees. Last year we had a higher category, more than $10,000, but now it's quite equally 55% to 44%. Somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 or $4,000 to $10,000. So, and of course, this is an interesting question, especially in comparison to last year. We asked about the trend from 2010 to 2011, what the company think, how the market will evolve, and they are optimistic. 70% say it will increase slightly or strong. Only 7% are pessimistic. They say that this will be a decrease. 20% around, we think there will be no change. And we asked in last year the same question, and we had, no, sorry, this how it increased, sorry, this is not the trend, it's how it was last year, sorry, it will be on the next slide. So 70%, there was an increase, but in 2010, which was a different sample, 90% thought it would increase. So, yeah, people tend to be optimistic, but of course, this is a different sample, and this can be, it has to be taken with a grain of salt also. Now, the outlook for 2012, still optimistic, 57% think there will be a slight increase, which looks realistically because we had this slight increase the last 2 years, so I think this will just move on. And we asked what would be 10 years, and of course 10 years of slight increase results in a strong increase. So people are really optimistic. Nobody thinks, except around 7%, that there will be a decrease, but 2/3 think that there will be a strong increase in the next 10 years. So I think this is one reason why we're here, and maybe because we are here slowly changing. And then, of course, the terminology question, which is a totally different picture than last year, because now 37% said that the acoustic equivalent to visual branding is audio branding, like in the Congress, and only 25% say it's sound branding. Last year it was just vice versa. It was just sound branding leading. And the same for visual logo, the equivalent to visual logo. Last year, sound logo was the most often named term, and now it's audio logo. So maybe the audio branch of terminology is taking over. We'll see what will be next year. Maybe next year we have sonic logo and sonic branding. And we asked, this was a new question as well, how the companies define audio branding actually. And this was the free text answers, and I just put them all into a word which shows the frequency of the words with bigger letters. And you see, of course, I had to regrab the words audio and sound because they're both the most often. And you see the process is just the most important term, what people say. Company, communication, touch points, it's actually one word. Many people still take the analogy to the visual domain. Of course, identity, strategic understanding, and so on. So, with different approaches, people could have two focuses on the process of audio branding. Actually, if you develop an audio branding for a customer, or you could look at the effect a customer has when he is exposed to audio branding. These were two lines of definitions. A lot of people stress the totality of touch points, which absolutely fits into Martin's presentation. We saw this one slide with really a lot of touch points, and it's really important. And another big focus was that it's an integral part of a Korean brand identity. The line of argumentation is like you brand visually, so you have to brand audially and the next three senses, I think, as well. And really strong focus on the strategic process. It's like, if you don't do anything with the audio, just let it run. This is not really clever. And the analogy to the visual domain was taken often. And here's a nice quote from one respondent, was infusion of logic into the magic of sound, I think, which quite captures it quite well. Because we'll see on the next slide how this can be explained more. And another question was, the subject were asked to give categories of sales arguments they use, and I make small categorization. And the most often argument that people use in the companies is the emotional connection factor, like adds emotion. So this is of course the strong power of music to evoke emotion immediately, or sound generally. Was put in the front. And 9 cases stress the point that it's just the coherent brand identity is important. It just should be a part of the branding, and that would be a better branding if you do audio as well. Or is it just necessary? Like, if you have the visual branding, you have to do the audio branding because it's not really consequent to only brand one sense. And of course, quite simply, profit. Audio branding results in a greater return of interest. 7 cases. I think it's always a good sales argument. And recognition. Can you recognize your brand from the kitchen? Nice answer. It's like, because music and sound and audio is just, you can't shut your ears. You can close your eyes, but you can't close your ears. So this is, of course, one advantage, and at the same point, unfortunately, a disadvantage of sound as well. And of course, everybody's doing it, so it's ahead of the game. Nearly everybody's doing it, so if you do audio branding with us, you will have benefit. You will be upfront. And 2 cases answered that the subliminal influence music or sounds can have, because it goes often unnoticed and not really on subconscious channels into the customers. And now the last section is about the attitude towards science. We asked, do you read scientific text? Just simply as that. And they do. They do a lot of reading, nearly in every category, around 80 to 70% on 80% on general branding and marketing, 80% read audio branding text, and even, which is a bit surprising to me as a music psychologist, around 75% read musicology texts. And we asked some questions about attitude, which gives quite a clear picture. Audio branding is more than art and a science. People are not decided on that, which shows the distribution here, but they are definitely decided on audio branding could benefit from scientific knowledge. So see here, nearly everybody, except 5 people, answered with strongly agreed. So everybody thinks audio branding could benefit from scientific knowledge. Interesting, nearly everybody thought there should be study courses in audio branding, like somewhere we need to have a master in audio branding in some university maybe. At least people think there's a need. Intuition is more important than rational thinking. People are not decided as well, but it's more on the rational side here. I have a conclusion. I skipped this one. Audio branders are highly interested in scientific matters, approaches, and results, and like to be informed. I think that's why we are here. Wide agreement that audio branding could benefit from scientific knowledge, as I already pointed out. Audio branding is rather seen as a rational, logical enterprise and only partly as an intuitive art. This really connects to the infusion of logic into the magic of sound. That there are strategic processes and that this can be controlled and steered. There's a desire for more exchange between scientists and practitioners. I'm here, so we can exchange. There's a strong need for study courses in audio branding. I already told that. And luckily, this is the end of the number show here. This was the audio branding week. Barameter 2010 will be in the yearbook, will be in the internet, and I thank you all for your attention.